kids. I'm talking about something fundamentally different in nature, inborn personality, the temperaments of two children, born of the same parents, I'm pretty sure, in the same hospital, by the same doctor. Of course, both of my children are beautiful, and that cannot be contested. Jeremy came out sporting a hairdo and a personality that is thus far, and by all accounts will continue to, make endearing all of his rascally deeds, wildly urges, and breaking of my things. Ayla, on the other hand, came out sporting a similar hairdo, but from the jump was a more even-tempered child, which is unquestionably a blessing, and I have no intention of jinxing it. Whereas Jeremy is a squeaky wheel, Ayla is an observer. She's aware, alert, bright-eyed, and not to say her brother was not, but it's a quieter, gentler interaction. Ayla's taking it all in and going with the flow, and her brother sizes you up, decides whether or not he can take you down, and then tries it anyway. Ayla's looking inside you, and I know this sounds ridiculous because she's only 12 weeks old, but I'm telling you, she looks in your eyes and sizes up your soul. The kind of look that is immediately off-putting because as grown people with problems and mortgages and student loans and bills and bunions and ingrown toenails, we mostly lose the capacity that Ayla has innately to see the soul. We lose the appreciation of the real world beyond the weights and measures of our financial burdens, societal woes, and Republican debates. She's looking at the real person, and with a smile or a cry can strip away all those other problems, those illusions, and allow you to live in the moment as a person riding the currents of fate. In Ayla's eyes, you are in the moment, and the rest of the world melts away until her brother takes off his diaper and throws it at your face at 150 miles an hour. And I don't mean this to be taken as criticism of Jeremy's depths of character either, because we have some pretty intense philosophical debates. Where's Chewie? Daddy. Where's Daddy? I'm right here. But they're different, and I guess it was foolish to think what worked for the gander would work for the goose. After all, I had that handy idiom ready to teach that lesson and express it, and I really don't have an end goal in this observation. It was just something I wanted to share with you and make you listen to me while I talk before I go into an even lengthier pre-written piece. The story of Ayla's birth, and then I promise I'll stop talking and we'll do more talking, and then we'll feed you. I was at work, Ayla, when your mother called me in extreme discomfort, in part carrying one average-sized child in her small-sized body, but also due to the complicating matter of sciatic nerve damage and a terribly bruised, if not broken, rib, which, you know, was not expected ever. My phone rang, and your mother was beside herself in pain, which was not surprising to me, just difficult to empathize with, because having a person grow inside your body is completely foreign to me, and really just makes me think of aliens. But regardless, after she called a second time, and while I was grading homework, she informed me that I had to go to the hospital immediately. Are you having a baby? Well, I'm not going there for fun. I heard they have slides there. Goodbye. And with that, I was shooed away from the premises of my employment and wished many good lucks. But I was somewhat aloof and disconnected from the sudden and early realization that the time of your delivery was nigh. Not that I was unprepared, mind you, but instead, you must understand that as a father, I'm never really ready for such a thing. I mean, I feel safe in making generalized statements about the affair because, according to Bill Cosby, I'm a real father. I have 2 kids, so like when they're talking to each other, I don't have to question the sanity of my son. But the weather outside was dreary, and it was that thin kind of rain that makes everything slippery once it hits the ground, but rarely is ever seen in the air. And it was only noon, so I decided to take the Belt Parkway on my fatherly run from Midwood to Oceanside, where we expected to receive the delivery of you. And the drive was fairly uneventful. There was no traffic or road work or cows on the Belt Parkway, so that was cool. And as I came to Sunrise Highway, I was pretty hungry, and I wasn't sure. I know you guys are like, where's he going? I was pretty hungry, and I wasn't sure when I would ever have the opportunity in life to eat again, but I had my packed lunch in my book bag in the passenger seat behind me. And the past few days, your mother, in her quest to bring you into the world as quickly as possible, had started entertaining Bubameisters from all ethnicities in hopes of hot-wiring her contractions. And that last night, she went to Italy. And if you eat eggplant parmesan, you'll go into labor within 48 hours. That's what she heard. So, regardless of the effectiveness or the truth of this claim, with some great joy in my heart, I was the bearer of leftover eggplant parmesan. And in your mother's delicate position, you see, she had relaxed our really healthy eating choices to being mostly moderately healthy eating choices. So I drove on the slick, rain-buttered highway. I calculated when the next red light could occur, and I watched the synchronized dance of green, yellow, and red cascading on the road in front of me. And I had to stop in Valley Stream next to the Sunrise Multiplex Cinema, and a nerdly thrill went through my body. I looked at the marquee, and it said The Muppets, and I was like, but I had to file it for later because I was hungry and you were being born. So I opened my bag, hastily removing the tin containing my lunch as carefully as possible. And of course, Italian takeout, it has that thing and you gotta, open up the lid, and I was driving and it was crazy, but I could feel the traffic light dancing in front of me towards a more green hue, and I opened the case and realized I don't have a fork or a spoon or a knife. And, I didn't know how I was gonna eat this. And then I looked at my pants and they were khaki. And I foresaw 100 different verbal lacerations I might endure from your mother if I was to be covered in sauce on my pants when she delivered a baby. The photographs I considered would not tell the tale of eggplant gone wrong, but might portray a brutal and less sterile birth environment. I'm gonna have to eat this with my hands. As a brilliant strategy as any well-educated person ever devised, I found myself eating red sauce-drenched eggplant parmesan, speeding down a slippery road on the way to the hospital to meet you. And I recalled my father's own tale of speeding towards the hospital on a late August, early morning, hoping to be pulled over by the police so he could say, "But officer, my wife is having a baby." And I wondered what explanation I might have for speeding down the highway while eating with my hands in the rain. Either I was an expectant father or some kind of socially disenfranchised fat man. And your mother would say I was both. But nothing to get sure about for sure. I only had a small spot of eggplant parmesan. I ran into the hospital and she said, "Is the baby coming today?" And yes, I lied to her. It was now clear to me that her question denoted that she was not actually in labor, but instead came to push the issue upon Dr. Bachman, her obstetrician, to move the C-section up to a more immediate, if not sooner, scheduling on the agenda. Of course, this is not to underestimate, I know, it's not to underestimate your mother's threshold for pain. She had an incredibly high tolerance for physical discomfort. You see, her children have a father that's 6 foot tall, but not necessarily a mother that's 4'11". So, she's just full of child. Regardless, Dr. Bachman was not bringing up the issue of early delivery, but your mother's severely bruised ribs and utero were killing her because you just had to have legs and feet. He offered some pain medications, Percocet, but your mother refused. Narcotics and these kinds of painkillers make for terrible nausea, and your mother would rather have someone chop off her arm, or rather, cut her laterally in the abdomen and remove a child, than have to throw up. "Well, there's not really much I can offer you. You're going to have to cope with the pain, unfortunately," said the good doctor. "Well, what if you take the baby out?" I said. I generally don't chime in during these things because the female anatomy and pregnancy stuff is like, I don't know, it's like space stuff, so I don't really mess with it, but this seemed like a no-brainer. And Dr. Bachman stopped for a moment. I suppose he didn't want to bring it up, or he hadn't considered it, and he said, "Well, if we took the baby out, that would give us more options for pain management." Yes. Yes, it would. And Sam said, "Doctor, that's why I came here." He says, "All right, well, since you're 37 weeks pregnant, I got to give you an amniocentesis. There's an 80% chance of this. I got to send you tomorrow. Maybe we can do it Friday." And it was already Wednesday. It was crazy. But the doctor wasn't pushing drugs on your mother, and they weren't dangerous to babies anyway. Like when your mother had Jeremy, she was given this strange cocktail of pain medications that made her seem like horses and stuff. And I was sleeping on the floor, and she said, "Brandon, there's horses in the room," and I was like asleep. So I said, "No, just close your eyes, they'll go away." But I've never had a trip or anything like that, so I didn't realize closing her eyes made the horses worse. So she didn't want to go through that again. So she went for the test, and the next day we went to Mercy Hospital for an amnio. And I had never been to Mercy Hospital either. So that was a bit of a trip for me because it's associated with Malloy College, so it's a Catholic hospital, and it's right down the block from our house. And I usually go to non-sectarian hospitals. And as we're walking down towards the elevator, I did not expect the life-size Jesus in the hallway that said hello as we were on our way to get out of here. I mean, I never expect life-size Jesus, but not at that moment either. And then the doctor was a little odd. He goes, "Let's do this." And Sam goes, "Is it going to hurt?" "No, why would it hurt?" "Well, I've had this before and it hurt." He says, "Have you ever had it done by me and it hurt?" "No." "Well, then don't worry." "Okay. Let's go." So he stuck in the needle. He said, "That's not pain, that's just pressure." I never understand when doctors say that. It's not pain. Like, why are you telling me that? It's just pressure. It's pain. But your mother lay on the bed looking stoic, and while I looked at the sonogram screen displaying a boink, and there was a needle, and I saw fluid go into the syringe on a screen, I pretty much felt like it was the world of tomorrow. Well, there you go. That wasn't so bad. I've got to run to Brooklyn now. Drink a glass of wine to soften the uterus if you don't spring a leak. If you do, put a Band-Aid on it. If you bleed, go to the hospital. Goodbye. And he left. What? That wasn't so bad, was it, Sam? She says, that was effing horrific. What was I going to do? Run away with a needle stuck in my belly? I don't want to talk about it. And by the way, did he just say drink some wine? I'm not doing that. Let's just go home.